Today we are going to show you how we would beat these anime characters. To get rid of Toji, just give that man $5 and a Walmart coupon. He's broke as hell, and his dusty ass would accept anything. If that doesn't work when he tries to attack you, point in a random direction and say, look, the police is here to collect child support payments. He's gonna take off like he's trying to get gold in the Olympics. Goku might be strong, but as we saw in the past, he can be taken out by diseases. So you know what I'm planning. We give that man bat soup, and we letting the Rona take him out. GG's easy dub. How you gonna be a universe destroyer but losing to bat soup? Think Goku, think. All you gotta do to beat Naruto is get him to tell his backstories. When he starts monologuing, you got about 2 months to prepare a plan to beat him. I suggest contacting Batman. You know his prep time is unbeatable, and Naruto won't see it coming. While he talking about that damn swing he was always on. Batman's gonna have the plan ready to decimate him. To beat Makima, all you gotta do is bring the FBI and show them all of her acts against a minor. She gonna be known as Makima 445 after the trial. Oh, and call Peta too, because I know she doing freaky things to them huskies. Call Sukuna. But seriously, to beat Gojo, all you gotta do is show him some of his concerning fangirls. Those women down bad on a galactic level. Have you seen the shit they post on Twitter? It's crazy out there. Gojo gonna be looking like how a normal person looks when he uses his domain on them, foaming at the mouth and brain dead. Brock is an uber simp. All you gotta do to beat him, and his Pokemon, is show Brock certain website. He the type to spend all his money on these websites and take out a mortgage on his house and car. Then lose said house and the car, because you know he ain't gonna be working when he getting all that content. And then when he is homeless, he will sell off his Pokemon to then subscribe to even more websites, and while he is starving and weakened on the street, just drop kick him. All you gotta do to Luffy to beat him is to push him in a kiddie pool. Imagine the potential king of pirates flopping in a pool that has water that only goes up to knee length. What's fifth gear when water is your arch enemy? And if you really want to keep him down while he is drowning, start throwing water balloons at his ass. Tamaki's bullshit ass ability to make her clothes fall off at random times for stupid reasons would be a good ability if she worked for specific websites, but in the case of beating her, it makes it pretty easy. Just stand still and she gone trip on her own clothes, and to add insult to injury, fight her in public. She's shy as hell and would make it easier to stomp her out when she trips and tries to cover herself. Only way to beat Yujiro is immediately start doing good as quickly as possible, so that you no longer qualify for him to hunt you down, or trying to strike a deal with the leader of the warriors and pray. For Saitama, just get a Wobbuffet, give it a focus sash, and when Saitama punches it, use counter. Easy dubs, he won't see it coming, he won't even have time to adapt, and Wobbuffet gonna still have 1 HP left. Eren and the Rumbling is a world-altering event and impossible to stop if you're living in the 1930s. But it's modern day. All we gotta do is hit him with a couple nukes. What's he gonna do when we fire a mini sun on him besides evaporate? First, you're gonna need to have a nuclear bunker and make her use explosion on the bunker. And when she falls face first and defenseless, give an elbow drop from the top rope like it's the WWE.
What if these anime characters got drafted? Now Goku would just make the most of it. That man would wipe out everyone on the battlefield before lunch was ready, and he still refuses to pay child support. If Naruto got drafted, no other person in the world would have to join the military. That man would shadow clone a person for every single job. The general is Naruto, the medic is Naruto, the potato peeler is Naruto, the enemy is Naruto. Luffy would cause failure for the entire country. You're probably thinking, he would have been able to wipe out the battlefield easily too, right? Wrong, that man would eat every single MRE in the base before everyone could sit down, and every single one of their asses would die of starvation because of Luffy's hungry ass. Now Deku, this one is different. This man would train every day. He would study martial arts. He would go to the shooting range. He would study the enemy's tactics. Yet the second he steps on the field, he gets 360 no-scoped. Jotaro would just run into the battlefield and stop time and kill everyone. But then when his dumbass resumes time, he's gonna forget that there was a bullet right behind him, and then his ass is gonna get shot. If Eren was in human form, I guess he could kill everyone fault easily. But if he was in Titan form, he would have barely survived, but then his ass gonna stub his toe on a tank tank or some shit. If Denji was there, that shit would be a horror movie. Imagine going into the field and then just see a maniacally laughing bastard with a chainsaw on both arms and his head jumping at you and then turning you into a disassembled Lego figure. If Saitama was there, he'd be mad that Goku already killed everyone.
Now, you've probably seen the title and thought maybe some of these characters would be good leaders. Yeah, that's cap. We'd be dead if a lot of these guys were in power. Goku would institute state-mandated martial arts tournaments every week. He'd have a boy on a wheelchair fighting Yujiro Hanma, telling him to do his best. That boy would likely die. Not to mention Goku's insatiable appetite taking up half the world's food production for himself. Next, we have Gojo. This man is already a menace to society, and it would be even worse if we all had to follow what he says. Imagine King Gojo walking up to you and your girl asking, "Did you pray today?" You respond, "No, please, King Gojo, not my girl." Then he looks you dead in the eyes and says, "I was talking to you." Nah, it's game over after that one. If Ash Ketchum was a world leader, living under his rule would be a nightmare. Imagine having to rely on someone who sends out Pikachu against a ground type. We would face famine, drought, and an alien invasion just because of his stupidity. He'd have us fighting Pokemon while we're out here in a famine, struggling for half a cracker, a drop of water, and an expired rat burger. Next is Makima, and it might seem good if you're a beta simp. She'd have us as her dogs, doing all sorts of freaky things. Some might argue she just wants peace. And being treated as a dog isn't so bad. But you're forgetting the common fate for dog owners. She'd neuter half of us. What's peace when your balls are gone? Is that the kind of peace you want? A world led by some freaky person? Nah, I'm good on that one. Who put Hisoka in this? Well, at this point, we might as well summon Shenron, ask him to summon every cop that's ever existed, and make them king of the world. Even that would be better than having Hisoka ruling the world.
Oh, I'm not that bad.
You as a freaky ass. What if these anime heroes were to go to jail for their crimes? Let's take Goku as an example. This guy who neglects his child leaves him with a literal green devil. I mean, he actually calls himself the Demon King. Anyway, this kid is thrown into fighting grown men on Namek, and then he watches his son get a beatdown from Cell without even intervening. And let's not forget the fact that this man has a body count. Sure, someone might argue it's self-defense, but when you're racking up bodies left and right, you start looking more like a lucky serial killer. The point is, this guy belongs behind bars, but let's be real, he'd still be a troublemaker, picking fights in jail. Now Sasuke's emo self.
But he redeemed himself and refused to have his arm healed as retribution for his sins.
Fair point. But if this guy wasn't the Osama bin Laden of the ninja world, I don't know who is. He straight up assassinated a whole leader of a country and then has the audacity to talk about redemption. That's like me sniping Biden and expecting everything to be cool because I fought in World War III. Not to mention the desertion of his country and his little hobby of attempting world domination with giant chakra pets. If it weren't for Naruto, we'd be dealing with an emo dictator. But let's be clear, Sasuke better watch out in prison, especially when it comes to dropping the soap. Now, for Luffy, let's face it, he's a full-fledged pirate. I'm not talking about bootleg DVDs, I mean kidnapping, stealing, and murder. Sure, some might argue he targets corrupt governments, but committing crimes against any government lands you in jail. Plus, the entire crew has bounties on their heads. And this guy thinks he's in the Wild West, and I bet prison can't even contain the Straw Hats. Zoro alone would probably wander off, and Luffy would start a prison riot on day one. Yummy Yugi was snatching souls and sending them to the Shadow Realm over card games. Imagine what he'd do for more significant matters. Keep him away from the general population, put him in solitary confinement, and definitely keep him away from cards. You know what, never mind. Keep that man out of prison. It's like sending a rabbit to a carrot field for punishment. The only thing suffering would be the carrots. Yujiro would have a new every day. Keep that man out of jail. What animal would these anime characters keep as a pet? Let's start with Deku. He's such a good boy that he would get a dog that is as loyal as he is. Of course, a dog would probably run away the moment he realizes Deku could rock his world, the moment he didn't roll over and play dead. Luffy, with all the infinite wisdom of his stomach, would probably get the largest protein sea monster only to get Sanji to cook it whole, while Luffy would gauge on all its insides like he is a starving child. Let's be honest, Luffy eats pets, not take care of them. Sorry, Chopper. Light Yagami is such a pretentious, arrogant, self-righteous prick that he would get a pet parrot so he can have something shouting every word he says back at him. There's nothing he loves more than self-admiration for himself. Tanjiro would get a mouse on the off chance he could get something small to keep his sister company in a box. Oh, what a nice brother keeping his only sister trapped in a box for days at a time before the Demon Lord eats the mouse. Well, let's hope not. Piccolo would probably have a falcon. Why, you say? Well, it's badass. Also, they grow from the same eggs that Piccolo came from. It would probably remind him of his father since he's a better one than Goku and Gohan. Speaking of Goku, he has a lot in common with Omni-Man in how he thinks of his family. So, I guess he's covered. On a lighter subject, Saitama would probably get an obese seal that couldn't move, so he could use it as a pillow, so he could get annihilated by King in video games. Naruto loves Boruto, the biggest cheater ever in the Chunin exams, and deserved to be embarrassed when Naruto caught him, so it would only make sense to get his family a cheetah. This is for 2 reminders that he's the fastest man in the village, and that Boruto is a sack of doo-doo, maleficent, infested, gregarious monster. Now for Eren Yeager, he'd get a rat. What was that face for? It's just a reminder of how the Marleyan people view the Eldians. Plus, he's probably spent so much time in mental hospitals and jails that rats are his only friends. Ichigo would get the Pokemon Scyther so he could practice his powerful sword skills on it. Too bad he wouldn't know his strength and slice it in 2. At least he's got the cheeks of Orihime. Sorry, Spider-Man, maybe next time. What would these anime characters do if they got pulled over? If Goku got pulled over, he would just keep on driving. And let's be honest, who's stopping that? If Naruto got pulled over, he would tell the cop his backstory, and by the time he gets to Jiraiya's death, that cop gone be out cold. If Piccolo got pulled over, his would be on the hood before he could even ask what he got pulled over for. I'll let y'all figure out why. If Luffy got pulled over, he would be pulling out his license, but then he realizes he's in the middle of the goddamn ocean, so his would be sailing away. Yujiro would just beat the cop's and give him a ticket, and he ain't gonna do a damn thing about it. If Deku got pulled over, his ass would incriminate his all the way to death row and still agree with the cops. His final words would be, "I'm sorry for what I've done," and then his name would be in Light Yagami's notebook. Speaking of Light Yagami, if he got pulled over, the first thing that criminal bastard would do is look for the cop's badge, and I think you know what would happen next. Eren's would turn into a titan and go form a simple ticket to a war crime in minutes. If Vegeta got pulled over, his would get 2 tickets, and when he asks, "Why did I get 2 tickets?" and the cop would say, "That hairline is a $5,000 fine and a misdemeanor that is not a condition to leave the house." Tanjiro would say that he needs money to support his family, and the officer would let him off free, and Tanjiro would drive home, knowing damn well those sons of bitches deader than Boruto's anime.